Hi. I'm about to go get smashed at jujitsu, so I thought, what better of a time to talk to you guys about how I once and for all stopped caring about what people thought about me. Somebody finally got through to me, and it was a lifelong process of people noticing that I held this burden. I think you can live a seemingly happy life on the outside where people might think that you're actually a happy-go-lucky person or a really confident person or really easygoing. I got that all the time. I got people saying, man, you're so chill. You just get it and you're such a good listener. And in the inside, I was really hurting because all I wanted was other people's approval. And I wanted what they were telling me, you're so great at this, the praise, but I never felt good on the inside when I got it. I always felt like I needed more. It was kind of like the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much I got, I always sort of either craved more or what I did get didn't seem like it was good enough. It's hard when you're told from your parents, from your friends, hey, just don't care what other people think about you, or, just don't look at it that way. Because in reality, you're like, I am looking at it that way. It's hard to tell somebody that's in pain to not feel pain, right? So I would see other people, I would get really down when I would want the type of life that they had that seemed like it was good on the outside, and it was impossible for me to recreate it without tailoring myself to be able to be as likable as possible for other people. So that of itself is a recipe for disaster because you're always pouring from an empty glass. You're never filling your glass up at all. And I think when you base your life upon living that way, you might think that you're getting through to people and people are really on your side and they're your friends, but you're really just going out of your way to please them so that you don't feel any anxiety or stresses. So a little bit of backstory here. I grew up in a middle-class suburban home. I had everything. I had a loving set of parents. I had grandparents. I had friends. I had aunts and uncles that lived nearby. I felt safe. I felt comfortable. I felt loved. I felt taken care of. And at the same time, I had parents that compared themselves to others, where it would be money, it would be status, it could be cars that they drive, it could be vacations that they take, it could be grades that other kids in my school were getting. So I definitely grew up feeling like I was compared to a lot, and I was noticing a lot of comparison. And what that did was that showed me at a very young age that there's always somebody better, and it's because they have more money. It's because they have a better job. It's because, they inherited a lot of money or something, and they're able to do those things. Not because they're self-actualized people that figured out a way to cut through all the BS and just live a happy life. So when I saw that growing up and I saw the comparison, I felt like I wasn't good enough. So I was automatically playing at a deficit. And when I got in elementary school and I was around kids, I often remember those times looking back feeling like I didn't fit in. Not because I wasn't a social person. I was very social. I just felt like they were better than me. Their time was more valuable than me. They were cooler. People wanted to be around them. They didn't want to be around me as much, which was all not true. I carried this with me up until one day in high school where I remember I was pulling up to somebody's house and I was feeling low. I didn't really want to be there. I kind of just wanted to, be hanging at home, playing guitar or doing something. And I said, you know what? I think I figured it out. The best way for me to not be hurt and care so much about what these people think about me is I'm just going to be the nicest person to them possible. Right? I'm going to do everything for them. I'm going to be the driver. I'm going to bring the food to the house. I'm going to come up with the plan. I'm going to invite people over. I'm going to take the initiative. That way, I know in my heart, if they're mean to me, if they're assholes to me, then that's on them. It's not on me. Probably everybody that's listening to this or watching this knows that that is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to do. But at the time, it felt like it was an infallible plan. There's nothing that I could see wrong with this at all. And I carried that with me up until probably 3 years ago when my mentor, somebody that I look up to that's very respected in an industry that I work, looked at me and said, you're wasting all of your energy, your precious energy, on other people instead of using that energy to better yourself. Use that energy on yourself. And finally, for the first time in my life, it clicked. And it just hit me in the stomach like a ton of bricks. It was like, oh my God, I am doing those things and it's ruining my life. And all I'm doing is caring about what these people that I don't even really care about that much think about me. All I care about is their approval. It is ruining me. It's making me feel like I'm a shell of a human being. The thing that came to mind is when you hear about somebody that's anxious, right? If somebody tells you they have tons of anxiety, you probably assume that those people are wired and really nervous and they're biting their, fingernails and they're tapping their feet all the time and they can't sleep. And while that's very true, anxious people are also very drained. And the reason they're drained is because they're using all of that psychic energy worrying. And when those people dip, they dip hard. So it's kind of like living your life with constant caffeine consumption. You might feel a little bit of a jolt, but you're gonna crash. And that's what I was doing. I was living my life crashing all the time. I was just in this world where other people meant more than I actually meant. I think people do this because they justify it's better to control your environment rather than let the unknown sort of seep in. And the unknown is where the love and the beauty actually exists. The unknown of a new friendship, of where can this go? How can we get to know each other with a real conversation? That can be scary to people because that risks having judgment seep in or people looking at you and rejecting you. And that rejection, that fear of rejection is so powerfully toxic that fear overrides everything else. And you say, you know what? I'm gonna run away from the fear. I don't want the fear in my life. I'm just gonna control what I can control. And I think that's where people such as myself, such as maybe many other people, go through life thinking, I'm gonna keep myself safe by just being a people pleaser and being really nice to everybody. But inside, I know I'm gonna be hurting and I'm gonna feel like shit and no one's ever gonna be able to get through to me. So what are some of the changes that I experienced? Well, I can tell you that instantly for me, my life completely shifted. It was like that day, it was like a paradigm shift for me. I saw my entire life and I also saw my life from a different perspective too. Because like I said, other people in my life had told me this. My parents, my friends, relationships, family members have been like, hey man, don't care about what these other people think. Only focus on you. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But like, it never worked. I was always like, yeah, but I still care about what these people think. And then when this particular person looked at me in the eyes and told me that, the stakes were way higher for me, where I felt as though I had the potential to lose a lot if I didn't take this advice. And at that time, it just was way more real. It was like somebody that has a bad spending problem and they're racking up debt and everyone's telling them, hey, cool it on the spending. You're spending a little too much on eating out and doing this where you should be saving. And then one day the creditors come looking for their payment. And then shit, it's real. And it's what it felt like for me. I felt like if I don't make this change right now, I could have serious consequences. I can't lie to you and say that it was easy because the discomfort that I felt was that same discomfort from a child of feeling rejected and like, I don't matter and I'm not good enough. And because we didn't grow up in a bigger house or we didn't have a better car or whatever, I'm not good enough. Therefore, people don't like me. But what this person was telling me was, we believe in you. We believe that if you change this mindset, you can go from being good to being excellent. And that's what I needed to hear for me. I needed somebody to tell me that they believed in me, that you can focus on yourself and actually get better rather than focusing on yourself and being selfish. So when I left that conversation, I was changed. I knew what I needed to do. It was almost like just knowing that you're gonna wake up in the morning or knowing that you're gonna eat. I just knew that I was gonna do it. And the ways that I started doing that were, I started noticing all of the things that when I would focus on other people about. So if I had a thought that would go through my mind, like, oh, I really wanna buy this cup of coffee, I would think, who do I wanna buy it for? Do I wanna buy it for me or do I wanna buy it so that I could share the photo on Instagram and get approval from others? Or do I really wanna go to that social gathering that I don't really vibe with and it's a late night, it's a weeknight, I don't wanna be out? Then I can say no, and no is a complete sentence. And people might even respect the no and the boundary more than they would the yes right away to everything just to be a part of it. And when I didn't get the praise that I used to want and crave, I actually would say to myself, it's okay because praise is earned and respect is earned. You can't have somebody chronically praising you all the time because it's gonna feel fake and not genuine. And it never feels good. So what ended up happening for me was little by little, I started noticing I had more energy. I had more desire to go to the gym. I had more of a desire to eat healthy and to focus on my body and to focus on my mind. And my fiance at the time, who we're now married, she said to me, I notice a complete change in who you are ever since that day. And it's only getting better. It feels like the old you is no longer really in the picture anymore. And the new you doesn't care what other people think about him. And that is not synonymous with being a selfish person. Because I think sometimes people think if you care about yourself, you're being selfish, right? And to an extent, that can be true. If you're showing up to house parties with your own weird Tupperware filled with strange foods because you don't trust anybody else, people might view you like you're a little bit of a weirdo. So the bottom of the line is if you focus on yourself and realizing that you are in control of your own emotions, and just because something is your story, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's your life story. Something has been your story up until a certain point. It doesn't mean that that's always going to be who you are, because you can change a little bit by a little bit every day. If an airplane is taking off in LA and it's flying to New York and the nose of the airplane is just altered by that much, it could end up in DC. It might feel like you're not doing anything, or it might feel uncomfortable, but trust me, discomfort is where it's at. And I think if you're afraid of feeling that discomfort, then you're gonna stay stuck like I did for as long as I did. If this person didn't say this to me that day, I think 100% I'd still be in that position where I'd care way too much about what other people thought about me. I would stagnate in what I'm doing with my life, and I would probably be the same version of myself that I was without any growth. And I can tell you, the reason I'm going to jiu-jitsu class right now, something that I never thought I would do, and I'm probably gonna make an entire video on that, is because I was so scared about what other people thought about me and how they could hurt me if I did it, and I would never be good enough, so I never decided to do it. Now I've been doing it for about 2 years, ever since around that time where I had that life change. So I know a lot of people say these kind of things, but I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. If I can do it, then I truly believe anybody can, because I never thought that I would be able to shift my identity. And it really comes down to shifting your identity. Are you somebody that prioritizes yourself and well-being first? Or are you somebody that puts others first and feels empty all the time? And I love the quote, you don't just wait until your glass is filled to help other people or to be there for other people. Wait until your glass is overflowing, and then you should use the overflow of what's flowing out of that glass to show up for other people. That way your glass is still full. Now, that in and of itself is an amazing thing to process, because you'll never feel empty. And I felt empty, and I'm sure many of you that are watching this might attest to that, where, man, I'm doing everything for all these people and I'm not getting any love. I know my mom told me that she would experience that, and her mom experienced it too. And just by having a series of questions that I would ask her, I learned way more about why we were all repeating that same cycle in my household. This is an ongoing process. It's gonna take practice. If there's one thing you can take away from this, when you feel a little bit of discomfort, it's your body and psyche telling you that you're on the right path. Nothing in this world that is great started great. Discomfort, pain, struggle along the way is always something that propels you into a different way of thinking, and to a better way of thinking. And regressions can happen if you become aware of what you're doing and ask yourself those questions every day or whenever they come up. The growth is still happening even when you feel like it might not be. So thank you, and let me know if you want me to go into any further detail about anything that we've talked about today. This is the first time I've ever recorded myself live talking, in a car with Costco stuff in the background. So thank you. I'm gonna go get whooped right now, and maybe I'll make another video on what it's like to get whooped in jiu-jitsu, who knows. But thank you guys, whoever's watching this, if anybody ever sees it. I believe in you. I needed somebody to believe in me outside of my nuclear family, but I believe in you. I believe in anybody that thinks that they are incapable of doing something, because trust me, you are capable. You can do it. I promise you, you can. So have a good one.